Okay. So hi everybody. Today we have Mirabelle Morah. I'll allow her to introduce herself. Okay, so we'll go straight into the experience. Okay, Mirabelle, please tell the audience about yourself.
All right, thank you so much, Esther. Like people say, there's this one I really like, which says, "I shall only pass this way but once, and any good that I can do, let me do it now." So I think that just describes me as a person. And my name is Mirabelle Morah. I'm Nigerian, but I'm currently based in the UK at this moment. And something that I've always been interested in is storytelling and connecting a lot of young people to resources, especially within the third sector and design resources. So that's a brief about me.
Nice, 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 nice. All right, you've covered everything in the questions for that part. Are you in grad school? Have you finished grad school? And what was your school?
Oh, I'm done with grad school, just recently graduated, and I went to the University of Edinburgh where I did my MSc in entrepreneurship and innovation as a Mastercard Foundation scholar. So I'm literally even
Ooh,
wearing my
the
university
hoodie.
badge.
Nice, nice, nice. Okay. You said you studied what? I missed that part.
Entrepreneurship. So I went to the business school.
Entrepreneurship. Okay,
Yeah.
okay, okay. And what inspired you to pursue graduate studies?
So pretty much I started something called Blank Papers Media when I was 17. And that was my own way of telling the stories, amplifying the work that a lot of young people in Nigeria were doing. So that grew to over 200 contributing writers, held a lot of
Mm-hmm.
communications workshops, had like over 100,000 web users. And it just grew a lot more bigger than me. And, when I was getting into, I just knew I was going to get into grad school, but I wasn't very sure what to study. It was either communications or something business. And but one thing that really made me want to study what I studied, which was entrepreneurship and innovation, is that I really wanted to learn how to build systems, like learn how to make a lot of
Okay.
things to be replicable and just things that stood the test of time and had a lot of impact. And I wanted to learn how to make money and learn the theory of why
Definitely
why businesses stood for a long while. So
for a
that's
long
that's like
time
the motivation.
to do it. Okay. You said Black People Media, correct?
Blank papers. It's like a blank sheet
Oh,
of paper.
blank papers. Oh, okay, okay.
Yes.
I'm glad I clarified that because I didn't hear it clearly. Okay, so I mean, based on that, it influenced your, first of all, your choice of program. And did you pursue that through your graduate studies as well? Like building the platform?
Yeah, so for blank papers, what happened was that that was the foundation of my whole communications journey. And over time, I had worked with a lot of international organizations where I was mostly working within the media sector. And I had worked with the Social Enterprise World Forum, which literally it's an international organization that organizes events and also influences policies, especially in the social enterprise space. So when I got into the
Mm,
business school, literally entrepreneurship and innovation, my focus was really around social enterprises and how to build, design innovative tools and within the communication space. So a lot of things I did in the past really did influence my choice of study. But I was very confused, I'll say, before I went into the business. I didn't know for sure what I wanted
mm,
to do, but I think that when it's your time and like God or the universe just leads you
yeah,
something.
yeah. That's very true. I agree. So, were there any challenges or memorable moments in your journey to grad school or in grad school that you'd like to share?
Like, I think from the very first day, look, I'm a person who believes in you have to see the glass as half full rather than half empty.
Okay.
I I got a scholarship to which is a Mastercard Foundation Scholars Program to study in
Mhm.
Edinburgh. And when I was before I even got into university, like undergrad, I didn't think I used to see scholarships as something that was really, really super huge. Like only the smartest of the smartest people got into this thing.
Mhm.
But I a lot of things just happened, which I'll explain later on in this video. But
Okay.
challenges that I faced, like I said, I like to see the glass as half full. Some of the challenges I faced were I think that within the first week that I arrived, I felt very overwhelmed. And I was very embarrassed that I was overwhelmed because I thought that I was the kind of person who could carry, who had a lot of resilience to carry a lot of things.
Mhm.
But I remember that like in my first 2 weeks or 3 weeks of arriving, I was trying to apply for a student role as a student communications person, and I didn't get the role. And then I remember that in one of the like the interview, the feedback that was given to me was that I had said that um I was overwhelmed. I had told my interviewer that I was overwhelmed when I first
Oh,
came to school, and so they said that that made them shaky. That made my application
yes.
shaky if I couldn't
Yeah. Or
manage.
even question your ability to handle the load.
Exactly, yeah. But then,
Mm-hmm.
I lived with that shame for like months. But then I realized that that's not something I should be ashamed of because I'm just 3 weeks old or 2 weeks old in a brand new country. And although yes, it was me being honest in an interview, but I learned my lesson. If I'm going to mention any weakness, I better also mention how I can overcome that weakness or how to
Exactly.
that weakness. But yeah, that was one
Exactly.
challenge for me. Just being overwhelmed. But I managed to find my feet
Mm,
with time.
mm. Nice. Okay, so the next phase, we are going to go into your topic. So, Mirabelle's topic is, would you like to mention it for her?
It's how do you find funding opportunities
Yes.
and
Mm-hmm.
scholarships for grad school? That's my
Exactly. So for this period, you share your screen and I'll be mute.
okay, cool.
And I'll be learning from you as well as the audience. Okay, so let's proceed.
Thank you. All right.
Yep.
So I'm very so one of the questions a lot of people have is I believe you can see my screen.
Very
Sweet.
well.
One of the questions a lot of people have is how do I get funding for grad school? How do I navigate this whole process? So this is what we'll be talking about, how to get funding and how to get scholarships very, very briefly. And the first thing that you need to realize is that everyone's story and process is very different. I applied for just one postgraduate study, which was the Mastercard Foundation Scholars Program at the University of Edinburgh. I have a friend who applied more than 10 times and had several rejections and also had successes. So it's important that you listen to people's pieces of advice, but remember, their life situations could be different from yours. And get inspired, pick up the principles that they use, pick up the tricks that they used, but always tweak things to yourself. When you're trying to apply to grad school, what is one of the first things you want to do? Well, they say fortune favors the prepared. So, one of the first things you want to do is make sure that you are prepared much before you even need or start applying for scholarships. And how did I do that in my own process? I played the long-term game quite very early on in my life because I played it quite unintentionally. One of the first things I did in my process was that I had built my portfolio. So I had started Blank Papers Media when I was 17 or 18. No, I was 17. And you could see my impact through that over time. And I had also volunteered a lot within my local community. I grew up in Calabar. I went to the University of Calabar where I did English and literary studies. And I volunteered a whole lot. So two things that you can do before you ever start applying, especially when you're looking for funding, when you're looking for people to pay your fees for you, um, especially bodies that are looking for individuals who have track records of a past impact, is to build your portfolio from time. So two ways to do that if you have a personal project and if you've also volunteered as well. Then to also prepare, make sure that you document your process and your work on social media. Did you impact people? Did you host a workshop? Did you speak somewhere? Even if it's not on Instagram, even if it's not on Facebook, make sure you have a document on Words somewhere where you're documenting the impact that you're making. Keep numbers, keep the track numbers, the people that were there, the dates, the venue, who was also part of that. Very, very, very key that you keep records of a lot of things. For me, I documented most of my work on social media and I also had a website. Then the next thing to prepare yourself much ahead of time is also if you have professional work experience, I mean, that's great. I have scholars as well, scholar friends who didn't have professional work experience so much, people who just jumped from undergrad to a master's degree. Like I said, everybody's story is different. Everybody's process is very different. For me, I had my own professional work experience. For other people, they probably had more of internships or projects that they did. But and different schools, different funding partners, they have different requirements. Some people just want people right out of school who are first class students. Some other people want to see rather, okay, you're a first class student, but okay, what other extracurricular thing did you do? So I had a lot of professional experience on my side. I was working for the Social Enterprise World Forum. I had also done consultancy gigs for SAP and some other organizations and even local organizations. I'm mentioning international, but let me tell you, charity begins at home. I started from where I was at. Like I was everywhere when I was an undergrad, in my town. And top of the mind, tip of the tongue, people would always recommend you for a lot of things when they see that you're doing great work. Now, that work experience gave me a referee, so I could have people to write me professional references if I needed them. The third way in preparing for your grad school application is also to maintain relationships with your university lecturers, because you might at some point they will say, hey, depending on what you're applying to, we need a reference from your school. And who are you going to turn to? I've been in a situation before where I needed an academic reference. And the people that I met said, literally, they said, I know your mother doesn't mean that I know you. So I can't write you a reference. I was like, oh, that's deep. But that's true because a referee is someone who can vouch for you. They couldn't vouch for me, so that's why they said that. And it's nothing personal. So make sure that you identify people who can write you different kinds of references. And let me tell you also, your friends, your peers who are running organizations or projects can actually write you references. It doesn't have to be someone super big. It could be people that you've worked with in the past who know your work as well. So never underestimate your own peers. And the one, two, three, four, fifth thing that I did was also to have a good CGPA. Although they say wisdom is profitable to direct, the Bible says wisdom is profitable to direct, I made sure that while I was in school, I was balancing both education and my other extracurricular activities. So these are some of the things you do before you start applying. Then the next step when you're applying for a postgrad, when you think you're ready now to apply, is that you need to gather intel. What this simply means is, like I said, I wasn't very sure what I wanted to study, whether I wanted to do a communications master's degree or I wanted to do a business. I don't know. One thing I did was that I spoke to people. There's wisdom in the multitude of counsel. Now, this means that there's wisdom when you speak to several people who are knowledgeable about something, but at the end of the day, you make your own decision. So I spoke to a lot of people, and some people said, hey, take for communications, just take some certifications. Some other people said, oh, you need to do like a management course. And I said, okay, I'm going to think to myself, how did I gather intel? Well, this is a working document. It's a moving document that I made some 2 years ago. And you can see how it's jiggling on the screen, but it's literally what it is, and we'll delve deeper into it. So, gathering intel, what I did was that I wrote the list, I made a list, university, the degree name, the country it was at, the number of years I was going to do that for. Then the scholarship board, if you had a scholarship, then the entry dates, deadline, and then the link. Look, at this point, you might still be very confused. What's the process like? How do I get into this? Calm down. Step by step, precept by precept. Like I said, first thing, prepare yourself. Prepare those things that you need for impact. Secondly, start to write out the universities and things. This is you gathering information. You're not making a decision yet. So like me, what I did was I looked at the LSE, London School of Economics, that had certain programs I was interested in, which was global media and communications, digital media, Erasmus. Look, you can see I was literally in the communications field. But I ended up doing a business degree. Like I said, step by step. I first of all pinpointed the universities I was interested in, and then the scholarships also, because I did not have money to fund myself. And while I was looking at all of these institutions, of course, in my mind, I was like, hey, God, how am I going to like fund all these things? Like, what am I doing? What am I doing? But write the vision down. Then after you
Yeah.
get all your intel, Some of the sources that you can use to gather information about schools, the course of studies that you want. My all-time favorite is Opportunity Desk, which houses scholarships, conferences, everything. Then I might be biased because I say study UK because I'm in the UK, but this is a huge world. So there are also so many other sources. So these are just a few top of my mind. Study UK events, which is something the British Council organizes. Attend school fairs, where universities come to speak to students and say, hey, this is what we're offering. In these school fairs, you always hear that a school would have like £4,000 or 4,000, whatever the currency is, discounts for, let's say, Nigerians. You don't need to even have first class or anything. They just let you know, hey, because you're from this certain country or you're from this certain geographic area, we have this amount of discounts for you. Or then you can also ask all the silly questions. Oh, but I have a 2-1. How can I? Oh, I have a 2-2. Oh, I have a first class. School fairs are perfect for you to ask questions and get contact details. And it was at a school fair that I spoke to someone and they said, hey, why don't you think about doing more of a management postgrad degree? And I thought, okay, I'm not interested, but it was a good intel. The scholarship hub is the next place, and then Esther and I are both Mastercard Foundation scholars. So shout out to the
Oh.
foundation. Yeah, they're very huge on sponsoring both undergrad and postgrad studies. And I think even PhD currently at in South Africa. So they're also
Oh.
in the world, both in Africa, in the UK, sponsoring in Canada, and also um US, and even as South America too, from Earth University, Costa Rica. So these are just a few sources of where to get intel from, but use ChatGPT, use many things if you can find sources. Then now you've moved from yourself to prove yourself. The first thing you did was proving yourself, like just documenting your processes, especially if you're trying to apply for scholarships. Next thing you did was gather intel, and put the sources down, like the universities you're interested in. Now it's time to prepare certain documents. You're not really super applying yet, but you're just making sure that some certain documents are ready. What are some of those documents that you need? You need to make sure that your academic transcript is available. If you are just currently finishing from university and you don't have your transcript or your certificate ready yet, well, I think certificate is what takes a longer time sometimes. An academic transcript usually is a bit more faster to get. But if you're from a university like mine, which was University of Calabar, it it can take you 100 years to get so many years to get your academic transcript, due to some factors. But I think right now it's better. But yeah, you can speak to your head of department to get a transcript, like an unofficial one or just something that shows your grades, it's not official. Get your certificate ready, make sure you have a referee. Just have people in mind that you can always quickly reach out to give you good, solid references. And something I also recommend for your references is that you for your referees, before they write a reference for you, have a document of sort where you've already written out certain things about yourself and or maybe your CV, so that you're not coming to somebody point blank and say, hey, can you help me out? Like, just give them pointers on what they could write about you. So that's something I'll say. And remember, your peers are also your friends. Not like your neighbor, but like your peers, like people who you've worked with before and know your work. Next thing, make sure your international passport is ready. People underestimate this one. Make sure it's ready. Then you might just want to have like a generic statement of purpose. You can always use YouTube and Google to search for how people have written statements of purpose. It's it's very common to find them. And I would really advise you try stay away from ChatGPT and AI tools to do your statement of purpose, because it would look so much like other people's own. This is another topic for another day, but make sure it's unique to you and tells your own story. And if you're going to use ChatGPT, just make sure that it's giving you feedback on what you can improve. Then past documentation of your work. If you are not going to be funding yourself, if you're not going to be getting a scholarship, make sure you have money to fund yourself. Then prepare your CV if necessary, research proposal if it's necessary, reach out to lecturers if necessary, English language test if it's necessary, GRE, GMAT if it's necessary. I didn't really do this part in asterisks because I only did TOEFL, but I didn't need to do GRE or research proposal or the rest. It's different institution by institution. So once you have these generic things ready, let me tell you, it sounds like a lot, but it is not a lot. It's not rocket science. It's not. You just need what I call patience. You just need some patience to figure out some things and to just get you in the right mood. This is me doing my master's degree with other Mastercard Foundation scholars, and somewhere at the extreme right, these are all people who have very different unique stories. Some people were refugees, some people were mothers, some people already had their own companies. Everybody's story, like some people had worked like 10 years before they came to do their postgrad degree. Some people only just finished undergrad like months before they moved into postgrad. So this is to tell you that your dreams of doing a postgraduate study, it's very possible. Don't downplay yourself. Don't tell yourself that you're not eligible. Don't do that. Just like give it a shot. You and everybody's story is very different and unique. Just ask for help where it's needed. And I had already written a guide on how to get the Mastercard Foundation Scholars Program. This is just one of it. Esther herself has like a booming YouTube page that just has so many resources on how to get like fully funded opportunities that you need. And like I said again, be patient. This is not a sprint. Start before you need to apply. Like gather your documents, gather your intel, speak to people, understand what you want to do, just gather information, but it gets to a point where you're over gathering information and you're not taking action. So know how to balance that. Even though this is just a very short overview of processes I took and processes that you can take to also start your postgrad degree. After you've listed all the universities that you want to get into, now pinpoint the specific ones that you are super interested in going for. What are their requirements? Learn to work smart, like use one document to attack maybe 3 or 4 different scholarships or 5 different scholarships, and you just tweak them to their unique needs, but don't have to prepare like 100 different things for 100 different unique situations. You just work smart. It's not a difficult process. It is really straight to the point if you take um guided steps. And last but not the least, I would literally say YouTube is your friend. You might be watching this on YouTube right now already. So YouTube is your friend to gather a lot of intel, information, people's experiences about scholarships. I used to think that I would never get a scholarship in life. I used to think it was such a huge thing, but I mean, here I am. If I could, I mean, you literally can. So this is a brief overview on getting funded and processes you need to take to be funded for a scholarship, postgrad scholarship.
Yeah, I really love your presentation. It's really insightful. I think something that stood out to me is, first of all, how you insert scriptures and wise words with your as you communicate. It speaks a lot. I mean, for somebody who is into writing and poetry and putting out content. So definitely, I'm going to share Mirabelle's blog, and then you can visit that as well. All right, hi guys. So I decided to cut this video short because we gave ourselves a time limit, which we clearly exceeded. But I loved every bit of this conversation, and there's a part 2 where we address some of the questions you might have, and we also share some insights on mindsets and generally postures that have helped us through our journey. So click on the part 2 to enjoy that. Yeah, bye.